You've been paying your credit card on time every single month, right? Doing everything by the book, staying on top of your bills, keeping that balance manageable, basically being a totally responsible adult. So why the heck does it feel like you're running on a hamster wheel that never stops? Like, no matter how hard you hustle or how disciplined you are with your money, you're still stuck in the same spot, maybe even falling behind? Here's the thing that's gonna mess with your head a bit. What if I told you that being a good customer is actually the trap? Yeah, you heard that right. That whole game plan you've been following, pay on time, keep your account active, use your card responsibly, might be exactly what's keeping you locked in a system that's designed to drain you dry. And the wildest part? The credit card companies are totally counting on you to keep playing along. Look, I get it. You probably grew up hearing the same stuff everyone else did. Build your credit, be responsible, pay your bills, and you'll be golden. The American dream and all that jazz. But have you ever stopped to wonder why it feels like the harder you work at this whole credit game, the further away financial freedom actually gets? It's like you're doing everything right, but somehow the finish line keeps moving. You already passed by this, haven't you? That moment when you check your statement and realize that even though you paid off a chunk last month, your balance barely budged. Or when you finally clear one card only to max out another because, well, life happens. Rent's due, the car breaks down, your buddy's getting married in Tahoe and you gotta get there. It's always something, right? Here's what they don't tell you in those fancy financial literacy classes or those lame commercials with people smiling at their phones. The credit card industry is a multi-billion-dollar beast that doesn't make money when you pay off your balance in full. They make bank when you stay in debt, just enough to keep paying but never enough to actually break free. It's literally built into the business model. And check this out, while you're over here stressing about making that minimum payment, feeling like you're doing the responsible thing, there's a whole playbook of psychological tricks and financial mechanisms working against you. We're talking interest rates that compound faster than you can say, APR, promotional offers that seem hella clutch but actually lock you into cycles you can't escape, and reward programs that make you spend more just to earn pennies back on the dollar. Stay with me until the end because what I'm about to break down for you isn't some conspiracy theory or anti-capitalist rant. This is straight-up reality, backed by data, industry insiders, and millions of people who've been exactly where you are right now. The crazy part is that once you see how this machine actually operates, you can't unsee it. So before we dive deeper into this rabbit hole, ask yourself, do you really understand what you signed up for when you swiped that card for the first time? Because chances are, the game was rigged way before you even sat down at the table. What you're about to discover might completely change how you look at that piece of plastic in your wallet, and honestly, it should. Now, real quick, if what I just said hit you in the gut even a little bit, do me a solid and smash that like button right now. Seriously. Here's why it matters. When you like this video, you're telling YouTube that this kind of real talk, the stuff that actually matters, the truths that usually stay hidden behind corporate jargon and fine print, is what people need to see. And that pushes this content to more people who are stuck in the exact same cycle you might be in right now. And look, if you're vibing with this and you want to keep peeling back the layers on how these systems really work, hit that subscribe button too. Because we're building something here, a community of people who are done being played and ready to see things as they actually are, not how we've been told they should be. Every subscriber tells me to keep digging, keep exposing, keep having these conversations that most channels won't touch. So yeah, subscribe if you're down for more of this. Alright, let's keep going. So let's talk about someone you probably know really well. Maybe it's you, maybe it's your roommate, your partner, or that friend who's always got their life together on the surface. This person, let's call them Alex, is what everyone would consider financially responsible. Alex wakes up every morning, grinds through their 9 to 5, maybe picks up some side gigs on the weekends because that's just what you gotta do in California these days, right? Rent ain't paying itself, and neither is that student loan that's been hanging around since college. Alex checks their banking app religiously. Not obsessively, just responsibly. They know exactly when each bill is due. The credit card payment? Always on time. Never missed one. Not even close. They're not maxing out their cards either. They're keeping things reasonable, using credit for gas, groceries, maybe a dinner out here and there when they've earned it. They're doing everything the right way, because that's what responsible adults do. Every month, like clockwork, Alex sits down with their laptop or their phone, logs into their account and makes that payment. Sometimes it's the minimum, sometimes it's a bit more when they've got some extra cash flow. And every single time they hit that submit payment button, there's this little moment of satisfaction. Like, yeah, I'm handling my business. I'm not one of those people who's out of control with their finances. I'm on top of this. But here's where things start getting weird, and this is where you gotta pay attention because this is the part that doesn't add up. Alex has been doing this for years now. Literally years. And yet, when they look at that balance, that number at the top of the statement, it's barely moved. Or worse, it's actually grown. Not because they went on some wild shopping spree or bought a bunch of stuff they didn't need. Just regular life stuff. The car needed new tires. The laptop died and couldn't wait. Their brother's bachelor party in Vegas. Normal, unavoidable expenses that everyone deals with. So Alex keeps paying, keeps staying current, keeps being responsible. But the balance? It's like trying to empty a bathtub with a teaspoon while someone's got the faucet running. You're making progress technically, but you're also somehow falling further behind at the same time. And that's when this uncomfortable feeling starts creeping in. This nagging sense that something's off, even though on paper, everything looks fine. The statements keep coming. Every month, that email notification pops up. Alex opens it, scans through the charges. Yep, all legitimate. Checks the payment due date. Got it. Looks at the minimum payment due. Totally manageable. Makes the payment. Closes the app. Moves on with life. Rinse and repeat. It becomes almost automatic, like brushing your teeth or locking the door when you leave the house. Just part of the routine. But underneath that routine, there's this growing tension. Because even though Alex is doing everything right, there's no actual movement toward freedom. No moment where they can confidently say, I'm getting ahead. It's more like treading water. You're not drowning, but you're definitely not swimming to shore either. You're just staying afloat month after month after month, putting in the effort but never quite reaching that point where you can take a breath and relax. And here's what makes it even more frustrating. Alex isn't reckless. They're not buying designer clothes they can't afford or taking luxury vacations on credit. They're not living beyond their means in any obvious way. They're just living. Working, paying bills, trying to save a little when possible, and using credit for what it's supposedly designed for. Bridging those gaps when timing doesn't line up perfectly between paycheck and expenses. The wild part is that Alex represents millions of people. This isn't some unique situation or personal failure. This is the norm. This is what it looks like to be a good customer in the eyes of the credit card industry. You're engaged, you're active, you're paying, but you're never quite free. And the system loves that. Absolutely loves it. Because customers like Alex, reliable, consistent, perpetually indebted, are the golden goose. Now you might be thinking, well, of course there's interest. That's how credit works. Everybody knows that. And yeah, on a surface level, everyone does know that. But knowing something exists and understanding how it actually functions in your real life are two completely different things. It's like knowing that sugar is bad for you versus actually tracking how much sugar you consume daily and seeing the impact it has on your body. The awareness is there, but the full picture? That's hidden. So Alex keeps going, keeps working, keeps paying. And every few months, maybe they'll get one of those promotional offers in the mail. Transfer your balance and get 0% interest for 12 months. Sounds clutch, right? Like finally a break. A chance to actually make some real progress without that interest piling on. So Alex does it. Transfers the balance, feels good about the decision, starts chipping away at it more aggressively because now every dollar actually goes toward the principal. But then life happens again. The promotion period ends faster than expected. Or there's a fee that wasn't super clear up front. Or another expense pops up and suddenly there's a new balance on a different card. And just like that, the cycle starts over. Different card, same trap. Same routine, same feeling of doing everything right while somehow staying stuck. What's really messing with people's heads is that this doesn't feel like a trap when you're in it. It feels like responsibility. It feels like adulting. It feels like what you're supposed to do. Pay your bills, maintain your credit score, keep your accounts in good standing. And society reinforces this constantly. Good credit is freedom, they say. Bad credit is failure. So you keep playing the game, keep making those payments, keep doing what you've been told is the responsible path. But responsibility without progress isn't really responsibility, it's just compliance. And compliance keeps the machine running smoothly while you stay exactly where you are. Alex isn't failing at anything. Alex is actually succeeding at being the perfect participant in a system that profits from perpetual debt. And the scariest part? Most people don't even realize they're in this situation until years have passed and they look back wondering where all that time and money actually went. Now, I want to go even deeper into this because understanding the mechanics behind why this happens is crucial. There are layers to this thing that most people never see, strategies and psychological frameworks that are deliberately designed to keep you engaged, keep you paying, and keep you from ever actually escaping. The truth is that the credit card industry has spent decades perfecting this model, and they're really, really good at it. Drop a comment below and just write, "I see it now," if this is hitting home for you. The thing about this whole system that really gets under your skin is how it weaponizes your sense of accomplishment against you. Think about it. Every time you make that payment, there's this little dopamine hit, right? You did something responsible. You met your obligation. You're not behind. You're not delinquent. You're good. And that feeling, as small as it might be, is actually part of the design. Because that temporary relief, that sense of being caught up, it keeps you in the game. It keeps you believing that you're managing things, that you're in control, even when the numbers tell a completely different story. This is where the psychological warfare really kicks in. The credit card companies have figured out that people don't actually need to be debt-free to stay engaged with the system. They just need to not feel like they're drowning. As long as you can make that payment, as long as you're meeting that minimum requirement, you'll keep going. You'll keep swiping that card when you need to because hey, you're handling it. You're not one of those people who's in trouble. You're responsible. But here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to acknowledge. Being in good standing with your credit card company doesn't mean you're winning. It just means you're playing exactly how they want you to play. You're the ideal customer, not because you're profitable in the traditional sense of buying tons of stuff, but because you're profitable in the long game. You're paying just enough to stay afloat, but not enough to ever really break free. And that sweet spot, that's where they make their money. Let's talk about what this does to your mental state over time. At first, when you're young and you get your first credit card, it feels like freedom. It's access. It's possibility. You can handle an emergency without calling your parents. You can book that flight to see your friends. You can fix your car when it breaks down. Credit feels like a safety net, and in some ways, it is. But over months and years, that safety net starts to feel more like a web. You're not falling, but you're also not flying. You're just stuck there, suspended, putting in effort but not really going anywhere. And the exhausting part is that you're doing everything you've been told to do. You're not ignoring your bills. You're not hiding from your responsibilities. You're facing them head-on every single month. You're working hard, budgeting when you can, trying to save, trying to plan ahead. But despite all that effort, the progress is so incremental that it's almost invisible. It's like climbing a mountain where every step forward somehow adds another foot to the peak. You're moving, technically, but the destination keeps shifting further away. This is the grind that millions of people experience but rarely talk about openly because there's this shame attached to it. Like, if you're struggling with credit card debt, society kinda implies that you messed up somewhere. You overspent. You were irresponsible. You should have known better. But the reality is that most people using credit cards aren't living lavishly. They're covering basic expenses during tight months. They're dealing with medical bills, car repairs, emergency vet visits, all the unpredictable stuff that life throws at you. And credit becomes the only buffer between stability and crisis. So you keep paying because what's the alternative? Stop paying and watch your credit score tank? Risk late fees and penalty interest rates? Lose access to credit altogether when you might desperately need it? Nah, those aren't real options. So you stay in it. You make the payments. You play the game. And every month you tell yourself that things will get better. Maybe next quarter you'll get a raise. Maybe tax refund season will give you enough to really knock down that balance. Maybe you'll finally catch a break. But those breaks are rare and temporary. Even when you do manage to pay down a significant chunk, life has this way of filling that space right back up. It's not because you're bad with money or lack discipline. It's because the cost of living keeps rising while wages stay stagnant, and credit cards become the only way to bridge that growing gap. You're not living beyond your means, you're living within a system that's designed to keep your means just slightly out of reach. And here's something that really messes with people. The credit card companies know all of this. They have entire departments dedicated to behavioral psychology and data analytics. They know exactly how much you can pay before you'll default. They know exactly how to structure minimum payments so that you feel like you're making progress while barely touching the principal. They know how to time promotional offers to catch you right when you're feeling most desperate for relief. This isn't accidental. This is strategic, calculated, and incredibly effective. The transformation that needs to happen isn't just financial, it's mental. It's about recognizing that the narrative you've been sold about credit and responsibility is incomplete at best and manipulative at worst. You're not failing by being in debt. You're succeeding at surviving in an economy that increasingly requires debt as a normal part of functioning. The shame you might feel? That's also part of the system. Because shame keeps people quiet. It keeps them from comparing notes, from realizing that this isn't a personal problem but a systemic one. Think about how many conversations you've had with friends or family about actual credit card balances and interest rates. Probably not many, right? People will talk about their rent, their salary, even their student loans sometimes. But credit card debt? That stays private. that stays hidden. And that isolation serves the industry perfectly, because when everyone thinks they're the only one struggling, nobody organizes, nobody demands change, nobody questions whether this is actually how things have to be. Now I want to go even deeper, because what I'm about to reveal is going to connect all these dots in a way that'll probably make you rethink every payment you've ever made. The mechanics behind this aren't just unfair, they're deliberately obscured, hidden behind technical language and fine print that most people never fully understand. And once you see how the machine actually operates behind the curtain, it becomes impossible to look at your credit card the same way again. If you've ever felt that weight, that constant pressure of knowing you owe even when you're doing everything right, drop a comment and just say, "Felt this." I want to know how many people are really experiencing this, because honestly, talking about it is the first step toward changing your relationship with it. And trust me, what's coming next is going to blow your mind. Alright, so now we're getting into the part that's going to sting a little bit, but it's necessary. Let's talk about what's actually happening with your money every single time you make a payment. You look at your statement, you see that minimum payment amount. Let's say it's like $150. You pay it. Done. You feel good. But here's what you probably don't realize. The vast majority of that payment isn't even touching your actual debt. It's going straight to interest. The bank is literally taking your money, keeping most of it for themselves, and applying just a tiny fraction to the amount you actually owe. Let me break this down in a way that'll make it crystal clear. Say you've got a $5,000 balance on your card with an average interest rate, which these days is hovering around 20% or higher for most people. When you make that minimum payment of $150, maybe $80 or $90 of that is pure interest. So you're really only knocking off like $60 or $70 from the actual principal. And next month, the interest calculates on that remaining balance all over again. It's a hamster wheel where you're running hard, but the wheel itself is tilted against you. Now multiply that by months, by years. You've been paying faithfully for 3 years, let's say. You've handed over thousands of dollars to this credit card company. And when you finally look at your balance after all that time and effort, it's barely budged. Or worse, it's higher because you had to use the card for actual life necessities during that time. All those hours you worked to earn that money, all those payments you prioritized, all that stress you carried, it wasn't building your freedom. It was funding their profit margins. This is where the emotional impact really hits home. Because when you realize that the system isn't designed for you to pay off your debt quickly, that it's actually designed to keep you paying as long as possible, something shifts inside. You start questioning everything. Like, how many vacations did you skip to make those payments? How many times did you say no to going out with friends because you had to be responsible and put money toward your credit card? How many dreams did you put on hold because you were busy managing debt that was structured to never actually go away? And the crazy thing is, you weren't doing anything wrong. You were following the rules. You were being the model customer. But the rules themselves are rigged. It's like playing a video game where the developer coded it so that you can never actually beat the final boss. You can get close, you can feel like you're making progress, but the game is designed to keep you playing indefinitely. That's not a bug. That's a feature. The psychological toll of this cannot be overstated. There's this constant background hum of anxiety that lives in your mind when you're carrying credit card debt, even if you're managing it well. It's there when you check your bank account. It's there when you're at the grocery store deciding whether to buy the name brand or generic. It's there when your friends invite you somewhere and you have to do mental math to figure out if you can afford it. That weight? That's not just financial. That's stealing your peace, your spontaneity, your ability to just exist without constant calculation. And because you're trying so hard to do the right thing, you internalize the struggle as a personal failing. You think, if I just made more money, this wouldn't be a problem. Or, if I had been smarter earlier, I wouldn't be in this situation. But that's exactly what the system wants you to think. Because if you're blaming yourself, you're not questioning the system. You're not asking why minimum payments are structured the way they are, or why interest rates are so absurdly high, or why credit card companies are allowed to change terms whenever they feel like it. Here's another layer that's gonna mess with your head. The credit card companies actually have a term for people who pay off their balance in full every month. They call them deadbeats. Seriously. Industry insiders use that word because those customers aren't profitable. The profitable customers are the ones who carry a balance month to month, paying interest indefinitely. So when you're struggling to pay off your debt, when you're stuck in that cycle, you're not a failure in their eyes, you're their ideal customer. You're the golden standard. And that should tell you everything you need to know about whose interest this system actually serves. The revelation here isn't just about money. It's about time. It's about years of your life spent in a state of financial tension that could have been avoided if the game was fair to begin with. Think about all the decisions you've made with that debt hanging over your head. The job you stayed at because you couldn't risk the income gap, even though it was making you miserable. The relationship stress that came from money fights. The opportunities you passed on because you didn't have the financial flexibility to take a risk. That debt shaped your entire life trajectory, and the wildest part is that most of it was interest, money you paid for the privilege of having borrowed money in the first place. And let's talk about those promotional offers again because they deserve more attention. You get that balance transfer offer with 0% interest for a year, and it seems like the perfect solution. Finally, a break. But here's what they don't emphasize. If you don't pay off the entire transferred balance before that promotional period ends, the interest doesn't just resume at the normal rate. Sometimes, depending on the terms buried in the fine print, they'll backdate the interest to the original transfer date. So you could have been paying diligently for 11 months thinking you're almost there, and then boom, you get hit with interest calculated as if that 0% period never existed. It's a trap within a trap. Or how about those rewards programs that everyone loves to brag about? Oh, I get 2% cash back on everything. Cool. But if you're carrying a balance and paying 20% interest, you're losing way more than you're gaining. The rewards are a distraction, a shiny object designed to make you feel like you're winning when you're actually bleeding money. It's psychological sleight of hand, and it works because people don't do the math. They just see free money and feel good about using the card more, which is exactly what the company wants. The impact of all this isn't just financial, it's generational. People are delaying buying homes, starting families, pursuing education, launching businesses, all because they're trapped servicing credit card debt. And when you're spending years of your prime earning potential just staying afloat, that's time you're not building wealth, not investing, not creating the kind of financial foundation that gets passed down. The system isn't just taking your money today. It's stealing your future and your kids' future too. Now I'm going to reveal something that ties all of this together in a way that's going to make everything click. Because what I've described so far is bad enough, but there's a deeper mechanism at work here that most people never see. It's about how the entire infrastructure of consumer credit is built, who it serves, and why changing your individual behavior, while important, isn't enough to escape if you don't understand the full picture. This next part is where the curtain really gets pulled back. Drop a comment and write, "The math never added up," if you're starting to see how deep this really goes. Here's the part that's going to rewire how you see everything. The reason paying your credit card every month doesn't actually get you out of debt isn't because you're not trying hard enough or because you lack financial discipline. It's because the entire system is mathematically engineered to prevent escape. And I'm not talking conspiracy theory stuff here. This is documented, calculable, and completely legal. It's just that nobody explains it in plain language. Let's start with compound interest, but not the way your high school teacher talked about it. When credit card companies calculate your interest, they're doing it daily. Not monthly, daily. So every single day that you carry a balance, they're calculating interest on your remaining debt, and then that interest gets added to your principal. Then tomorrow they calculate interest on that new, slightly higher amount. This is called compound interest, and it's working against you in a way that's almost invisible until you really break it down. Here's a real example. Say you've got that $5,000 balance we talked about earlier, and you're paying $150 a month. With a 20% APR, which is pretty standard, it'll take you about 4.5 years to pay that off if you never use the card again. And in that time, you'll have paid over $3,000 just in interest. That's more than half of what you originally owed. You'll end up paying $8,000 total to clear a $5,000 debt. That's not a penalty for being irresponsible. That's just how the math works when compound interest is stacked against you. But here's where it gets even more twisted. Most people can't just stop using their credit card while they're paying it off because they need it for actual expenses. The gap between income and cost of living is real, and for millions of people, credit isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. So while you're making those payments, you're also adding new charges. Maybe not huge ones, but enough to keep that balance from ever really dropping. And the credit card companies know this. They've run the numbers. They know that most customers will remain in this equilibrium state where they're paying regularly but never actually achieving freedom. This is the trap within the trap. The system doesn't need you to max out your cards and default. That's actually bad for them because then they have to write off the debt or sell it to collections for pennies on the dollar. What they need is for you to stay engaged, stay current, and stay indebted. They need you in that sweet spot where you're paying just enough to cover the interest and a tiny bit of principal, but not so much that you'll ever pay it off quickly. And the minimum payment structure is specifically designed to keep you there. Think about this. Credit card companies have entire actuarial departments full of people with advanced degrees whose job is to calculate exactly how much you can pay without defaulting, and exactly how long they can keep you paying. They use sophisticated algorithms that analyze your spending patterns, your income level, your payment history, all of it. And they adjust your credit limit, your interest rate, your minimum payment, all based on keeping you in that profitable zone. This isn't some accident of capitalism. This is intentional design at the highest level. And here's something that'll really blow your mind. The regulatory environment actually protects this model. There was a time before certain reforms when credit card companies could raise your interest rate for basically any reason, even if you were current on all your payments. They called them universal default clauses. You could be late on a completely different bill, like your electric bill, and your credit card company could jack up your rate as a result. Some of those practices got reined in after the financial crisis, but the fundamental structure remains unchanged. The game is still tilted heavily in their favor. The truth is that credit card debt functions almost like a modern form of indentured servitude. You're not legally bound the way people were centuries ago, but you're economically bound in a way that's just as restrictive. You keep working, keep paying, keep servicing the debt, and the system keeps extracting value from your labor indefinitely. The freedom you're chasing stays perpetually out of reach because the finish line moves every time you get close to it. And the psychological conditioning around all of this is brilliant from their perspective, horrifying from yours. Society has internalized the message that debt is normal, that everyone has it, that it's just part of being an adult in the modern world. And to some extent, that's true. Most people do have debt. But that normalization stops people from questioning whether it has to be this way. It stops people from recognizing that the rules of the game are written by the people who profit from your participation, not by the people actually playing. What really makes this system so insidious is how it commodifies time. Every month you're making payments is another month where your financial energy is directed towards servicing debt instead of building wealth. You can't invest aggressively because you're paying off credit cards. You can't save for a down payment because you're covering minimums. You can't take career risks because you need stable income to stay current. The debt becomes a governor on your entire life, limiting your options, constraining your decisions, keeping you locked into patterns that serve the system rather than yourself. Now, there's also this element of shame and silence that keeps the whole thing running smoothly. People don't talk about their credit card debt the way they talk about student loans or mortgages. There's this cultural narrative that credit card debt is a personal failure, a sign of poor self-control or bad decisions. And that narrative is incredibly useful for the industry because it keeps people isolated. It keeps them from organizing, from demanding systemic change, from recognizing that this is a structural issue, not a personal one. But when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it becomes obvious that this isn't about individual responsibility. The average American household with credit card debt carries over $6,000 in balances. Collectively, that's hundreds of billions of dollars in consumer credit card debt across the country. And the credit card industry pulls in over $100 billion a year in interest and fees. This is one of the most profitable sectors in finance, and it's built entirely on keeping regular people in a state of perpetual debt. The infrastructure that supports this is massive. There are entire financial instruments, bonds, securities, investment vehicles, that are backed by the expectation that you and millions of others will keep making those monthly payments. Your debt gets bundled, sold, traded, used as collateral for other financial products. You're not just a customer. You're an asset on someone else's balance sheet. Your future payments are already priced into complex financial models that investors bet on. The system doesn't just want you to stay in debt, it requires it for stability. And this is where the revelation becomes uncomfortable because it forces you to confront a hard reality. Even if you do everything right, even if you budget perfectly and hustle endlessly and sacrifice constantly, the math is still against you. The structure itself is predatory. And recognizing that doesn't mean giving up. It means understanding what you're actually up against so you can make informed decisions about how to navigate it. The transformation that needs to happen isn't just learning how to pay off your credit cards faster. It's recognizing that your relationship with debt is a symptom of a much larger economic reality. It's about seeing how wealth extraction works at scale and understanding that your struggle isn't isolated. It's shared by millions who are all stuck in the same system, all trying to do the right thing, all wondering why it feels so impossible to get ahead. Now I'm about to shift gears because understanding the problem is only half the equation. The other half is figuring out what you actually do with this information. How do you operate within a system that's rigged against you? How do you protect yourself? How do you find leverage where none seems to exist? That's where things get really interesting, and that's where most people never get to because they're too busy just surviving to strategize. If this is connecting dots for you in a way that's both clarifying and infuriating, drop a comment that says, "I see the machine now." Look, if you made it all the way through this, I already know you're different. You're not here for surface-level advice or quick fixes. You're here because you want to actually understand what's happening behind the scenes, and honestly, that's exactly the kind of person this channel is for. So if this resonated with you, if you're tired of feeling like you're the only one seeing through the smoke and mirrors, hit that subscribe button. Because we're going to keep peeling back these layers, keep exposing the systems that operate in the shadows, and keep having conversations that actually matter. And do me a favor, drop a comment right now that says, "I made it to the end." I want to see how many of you really stuck around for this whole thing, because that tells me we're building something real here. This isn't just content. This is a community of people who refuse to be played anymore. If this hit you the right way, go ahead and leave a like too. It helps more people find this stuff, and the more people who see it, the harder it becomes for these systems to operate unchecked. Your engagement literally pushes this message further. And hey, there's a video right here that picks up where this one leaves off. It digs into what you can actually do with this knowledge, the strategies, the mindset shifts, the real moves that give you leverage. Click it and keep going with me. Let's keep this momentum rolling.